say I come to you and I ask you that, okay, I've got a bit of this broad idea that I've got this product, this is the kind of person I want to serve, but you know what, I don't know beyond that. What would be some typical questions you would ask me and dig into to get us to, for you as an outsider, to make sense of, okay, here's this problem, and before we simply propose a solution, let's make sense of what is happening and give it a shape, right? So you would be asking me a bunch of questions. What do those questions typically look like?
Great. So in fact, we have productized this whole question and answers because a lot of time was going in that. We call it a beautiful concept called a core book. What our core book does is has both the questions that you just asked about and the answers to them. It's divided into five parts. First, we start with the origin story and why are you even doing what you're doing, where you're coming from, right? That's section 1, which sets up the tone in the sense that if something today doesn't work, we can already sense where you will go next. Is it to make another unicorn? Is it to solve a real problem? Is it to solve any problem? Stuff like that shows up in that section of it's documented. We use Notion like you do, and maybe we'll move something else, but that's documented properly.
Never leave Notion, please. Never leave Notion. That's a that's a mandate now. Once you start using Notion, I'm going to rebel against that. But yeah,
Notion is amazing. We discovered it some time back, and I have been a Notion nerd since then.
I am a power user.
Yeah, that's what Amrit tells me about Notion. So that's first part is origin story. What are your beliefs? Why are you doing it and stuff like that? Little more like a very broad level. Then we sort of ask everything that they are aware about their product/product roadmap or any learnings. It depends. Some early stage startup when we are entering could be in different phases. Some of them have a product which is not ready yet. Some of them have a product which they have already gone and sold enough, but they're struggling with scaling, stuff like that. So that documents what is the product, what stage it in, are there variations, stuff like that, who is your customer for that, and then entire the playbook of a product customer fit, wherever it is, to whatever extent it is. Those clarity we need, and we document and make sure we show it to them, and everybody sees and says, yes, we are all aligned. Because sometimes you'll be surprised how 3 different people are saying 3 different things. Okay, and this also goes to the origin story. 3 co-founders can come for absolutely different reasons, but when you document it, at least it's clear. There is no confusion, there's no ambiguity. That's why we call ourselves CoreVoice. CoreVoice essentially means put all of this together, make sure everybody sees how one thing is fitting to other. The third section is also called the growth section, where we want to document what are the growth experiments that you've already tried. What have you tried in terms of growing via sales, and what have you tried in growing through marketing/branding efforts. Most startups would not have a very hard-on branding effort. It would be mostly a marketing which leads to a lead gen, which leads to a sales, because you're early stage. It's amazing that at least 1 or 2 startups are really focused on, even today before a PMF, making sure what is our brand strategy and how will we grow via brand-led strategy, which is amazing. Because
my guess would be these would be more D2C startups then.
Yeah, B2B as well.
Okay, interesting.
You said did you say D2C?
D2C, I said. Because these guys seem to be way more sensitive to the idea of a brand. They need to differentiate themselves from the Parlays and HULs of the world.
So D2C would not surprise us, right? But I'm saying B2B and B2C also, some early stage startups have started thinking about brand right from day one, which is amazing. That's what is surprising, because at some point it felt like nobody would think about it. And the other questions would be around the specific messaging that should go out as they hire, right? For the talent branding perspective, we want to know what kind of people you want inside, what is the bigger plan, stuff like that. So like, what does your brand stand for? So one was internal about origin story, and second is external. So all of these questions we documented, and we actually charge for it also sometimes, because for some startups, at least one of them, we said, you know what, let's just do this. Then we will take a call if it makes sense for CoreVoice to jump in some place. The gaps became so clear that we are here. These are the pieces you now take. These are the growth bullet points that we haven't had the time to explore, not because we are bad at it. Sometimes startups can do it, but we haven't had the bandwidth to pull it off, right? Or we are busy just hiring sales guys because we know this is working. We know marketing is required. We don't want to hire somebody there, so take these pieces off. So do a core book, have all this clarity, all these questions documented, get it vetted by all the co-founders and the leadership, then create a scope of work for ourselves. And in fact, we call this core book a living, breathing document, right? Go back to that core book after 3 months. The core will not change, perhaps, hopefully, but the tactics will change.
But even if it does, which is expected in early environments, I mean, it's for the better. Now you're evolving, even if it does change. So all change is evolution.
Document,
Yeah, that way. No, that sounds great. Actually, this makes it very explicitly clear that for someone who is trying to bring coherence in some way to their, not just their own understanding, but also in how they represent themselves. It's important, especially at early stage, that you've got usually 2-3 co-founders is a commonplace thing now. And I like the fact that you focused on getting the inputs from all co-founders at least involved, and see how they have come together. They've gotten together for different reasons. Probably say them sometimes have different visions, and it is still in their heads. What you do is you bring it out on paper, right, and make it explicit and common knowledge, saying that okay, you know what, let's at least get this out, get this done, so that we can now talk about it, move further, find some common alignments, right? I like that approach. So do you sit down and do this like a holistic one-on-one exercise?
Set up calls like the way we are doing.
Okay, I love the idea that we kind of bring everyone in the team together on the same page. I used to do that actually. I appreciate that even more personally. As a product manager, I've been in product management for 5-6 years, and I was typically the guy in early stage startups. So I was typically the guy who would chase the founder. You know what? We don't have a document of what we are doing. You know, you said it to me, you said it to a couple other folks, but the guys who report to me or my other colleagues who don't happen to have so much interaction with you, they have no clue what they're doing, right? And I think they deserve that. So I used to do this exercise myself. I didn't know that it was, now I can call it in-house consulting in a way. But I used to ask them a lot of questions, annoy them, set meetings on calendar that, you know what, I'm a product guy, I really need to know this, and I'm going to make this document public. I know half of the people are not going to see it, but I'm going to make it public, and I'm going to make sure that I have that clarity every time I speak to them. And there should be no inconsistency, incoherence in, you know, in their mind of what are we setting out to do, why are we doing something. Otherwise it feels like a mundane task. Something as intellectually stimulating as software engineering and, you know, development can often feel like a chore if you have no idea what you're building for, right? And I've seen that make a lot of difference. A lot of my colleagues, they appreciated the effort, saying that, you know, now we know what we are up to. And I can sense how important that must be for all these, especially early stage startups, to get people on the same page. Maybe, you know, broadcast once it's ready, probably find an opportunity like a town hall and broadcast it out that, you know, we've compiled this. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, we should push for that with some of the startups that we work with.
You should. Town halls are amazing. I love the concept of town halls.